Henderson, Smith, all those dudes in the paint. Ryan Moffitt, the other forward on the starting five, 57% from the floor. Now off the bench, you got guard Jack Ferguson, the second leading scorer off this team, shooting 50% from deep. He's that spark off the bench. Typically a shooting guard, but can run a little bit of combo guard for the Raiders. Center Jeff Woodward. He's 6'11 and comes off the bench, and I could see him matching up against Vanover or Williams if records are struggling a little bit. And the last guy I see on this Colgate team that I think will play a big part into making a difference in this game is guard Oliver Lynch Daniels, just a bench roll shooter, typical guy who plays 10-plus minutes per game on average. Just some things about this Colgate team. In 2020 to 2021, they have played no Power 5 opponents, played the same team 5 times. Last season, they played some Power 5 opponents in November, so technically still last season. They lost to Clemson 68-81, lost to number 17 Auburn 61-92, lost to Syracuse 54-70, and that Auburn game wasn't even close. In my opinion, Arkansas is more talented than all three of those teams were at the time. In 2018, they actually gave Tennessee a little bit of trouble as the 15 seed, but they lost 2 out of the 3 scores on that team, and I don't think they play the same level of defense either as that year. So I don't think that's really a point to say, and Colgate really hasn't had any success against Power 5 opponents within the last few years. And sure, they have some March Madness experience, but, it's not that much, and for March, I think the general idea is not to overlook a team, but, be logical. I think Arkansas wins this game comfortably myself. But I don't want to say it's impossible because it's March. Anything can happen. But I like Arkansas for multiple reasons I'll get into later. Like I've said, though, I think Vanover matches up well with this team. I could see him being the X factor.
It's time for Sam's prediction. Sam's prediction.
Now I'm 24-4 on my predictions for the season. I got the Hogs winning 82-68. The keys for this is just beating them using your athleticism, using your strength, using your length. We're going to outclass them pretty well in all of those categories, so use those to your advantage at all times. I really talked about a lot of points, just during the whole entire show, so obviously those all apply here. Free throws is a big one here. I don't think we'll struggle with it, though. I think it's just an off night in Nashville. I think we got to shoot 45% from the field. That's just a gimme, and then out-rebound this Colgate team. Now, Haslametrics has Arkansas winning this one 79.24 to 78.54. And the reason Colgate is such an interesting team is because they have pretty good analytics and are high on the metrics just because of their weird schedule. It's just been weird with COVID and everything, and non-conference is not happening, so Colgate's really high on these analytics, but Vegas has us favored by 8.5 points. Over-under at 161.5. I think this is a high-scoring game, but I would be shocked if Colgate gets above 75 in this matchup, but you never know. It's March. ESPN BPI gives Arkansas a 69.5% chance of winning. And obviously anything can happen. It's March, and I just don't see a lot of reasoning behind this. And if you watched Selection Sunday, you knew that Seth Davis of CBS picked Colgate over Arkansas during the show, and Twitter gave him his issues for it. I just don't see a lot of people picking this upset, without that happening. I put that on Twitter, and I was thinking about it. Who would have picked this Colgate team? What sticks out to them? I'm sure, yes, they have high numbers in every statistical category, but you have to look at who they played, and when they played Power 5 teams in the past, coaching. Musselman has taken a Nevada team to the Sweet 16, and this Arkansas team is higher seeded, higher talented than those teams. And sure, Colgate's been there, but they haven't had much success, with their coaching. They've been there. Both teams have a little bit of experience, not a ton across the board between coaching staffs, players, etc. I just don't see a lot of reasons why Colgate will beat Arkansas, but you never want to overlook a team, and I don't think that's going to happen here. Now, I'm working on a pretty fluid schedule, so make sure to follow my Twitter at AllHogSportsPod. You can find that link at allhogsports.com. It's March, baby. I think the Hogs may get to the round of 32 and play Texas Tech. I'll also be sharing my bracket on Twitter, too, so make sure to stay tuned for that one. But, signing off for now, Woo Pig Suey.
That's all for today's episode of All Hog Sports with Sam Stimpson. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode covering all Arkansas Razorback sports. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media too. On Twitter and Instagram at All Hog Sports Pod. Like on Facebook at All Hog Sports and Arkansas Razorbacks Podcast. And on YouTube at that same name. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Go Hogs!